Benji.
Yes, Benji, welcome.
Welcome. ओम शांति बहन, कैसे हैं आप? रूपा बहन के
ओम शांति। ओम शांति। 1 minute.
Bhai Avin is here.
Yeah, he is here. We're putting it on YouTube and then we start.
Yeah. I wish to welcome all my good students there. I can see all their names.
everyone. Thank you for choosing Night Sky.
Brother Erwin, please unmute yourself.
Okay. Hello, Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Good evening to all of you. In fact, I welcome you all to today's session, which is about spiritual intelligence and legal decision making. While we are leading our day-to-day life, in every minute, in every second, we have to take decisions. And just like any other profession, in the legal profession as well, we are called upon to take decisions every day, every hour. And what's most intriguing when it concerns the legal profession is that our decision can have very far-reaching effects on clients, on accused parties and their families. For instance, the decision to prosecute someone for a criminal case can result in that person being suspended from work. In turn, his career may be affected, which in turn affects his revenue. And in turn, this will affect his family. Now, children may suffer in their upbringing and education. So therefore, one decision which we take within the comfort of our office can be life-changing for a whole generation. So in light of what I've just said, it becomes very important for us to develop the ability to take the right decisions. Sometimes a simple knowledge of the law or logic is not sufficient to equip us in legal decision-making, because that decision may be legally right, but we may not feel satisfied with that decision. So I think this is where spiritual intelligence comes into play. Spiritual intelligence is elaborated as the adaptive use of spiritual information to facilitate everyday problem solving and goal attainment. So the purpose of today's discussion is how to acquire and use spiritual intelligence, which would assist us in decision-making in the legal world. So on this note, I have the pleasure to leave the floor now to Professor Torel for him to enlighten us on this topic. But before that, there will be Sister Rupa who will address us. Thank you.
Om Shanti.
Om
Good
Shanti.
evening, everyone, and a very, very hearty welcome, especially to our dear brother, Ved Prakash Toralji, and the whole team. The topics chosen are really very interesting, and it really applies to spirituality first, and then we come with other decisions. So decision making, I feel it's the work of the intellect, the mind intellect, and the soul, the reality of ourself, the soul. It comprises of our mind, intellect, and sanskars, our personality traits. And the more we are concentrated and the more the mind is clear, we can take the right decision, the intellect works in the right way, and we can take the right decision in the right time for the right thing. And that will bring success. But for that, again, we need our discerning power. So we have a series of all the spiritual powers that work in connection with one another. And so the discerning power also is as important as the decision-making power. And for that, the more we keep the mind intellect clear, how to keep the mind intellect clear now. This is what we learn here, the method of meditation, connection. Of course, everyone feels that there is something, one or other thought should be all the time going on in the mind. Because when we are in the physical body, the soul is never free of any action. And now the more the thoughts now flow through the mind, it depends on the type of thought that leaves its effect, either positive or negative. And in the actual trend of life, we see the way things are going. So mostly above 90% of whatever we see, we hear, now we witness, what we feel, most of them are negative things, which in spirituality it's considered as the dirt that accumulates on the mind and intellect. And the more we are comme si encombré de toutes ces différentes pensées inutiles ou négatives ou des pensées ordinaires. So we cannot take the right decision in the right time, because just like something which is blurred on a mirror, there is something we cannot see clearly. In the same way, in the trend of thoughts that go through the mind, it keeps the mind in that way, and the way to clean it is just, we know it's not something material that we can wash, we can clean it, but it needs some spiritual power. And that spiritual power through meditation, the different basic techniques of meditation, it helps the soul clean the mind, and the clearer it is, we can connect with the Supreme, the highest on high, the Almighty. We can experience that power, that purity, which help us to decide and to take the right decision in the right time, and that will be a success. So every time, it's not just morning, evening, or a certain time that we meditate, but once we learn the technique of meditation, that helps us at any time, and it takes us few seconds, minutes, to just clear the mind of all other thoughts and come to the right decision, or use the mind in the right way to take our decisions. And I hope everyone, whoever it may be, everyone has to use the mind and intellect to live in this world and to do things in the right and proper way. So best of luck for the whole session today. Now, thank you so much. Om Shanti.
Thank you very much, Sister Rupa. We are now going to invite Professor Torel to enlighten us on the topic of spiritual intelligence and legal decision making.
Bhai Arvind, thank you so much for your brief introduction regarding the topic itself and your welcoming address. And Sister Rupa, my thankfulness, my warmest thanks to you as well, as a way of bringing this topic to the right framework, to the right, the way it should be presented. I'm quite happy. There are two things that came into light immediately, is that what Bhai Arvind said in his brief introduction is that we got to make decisions every day, and legal decision is very impactful, especially in the common lives of people. And what he said also is, how do we balance legal as well as reasonableness? Something can be legal, but not necessarily reasonable. But we need to have a fair balance between legality and reasonableness in terms of decision making. This should be the main important skill, the tool, the strategy we need to adopt in order to bring that fair balance of having, like we can say, an understanding heart and an equal vision and a balanced mind. These are the three very important aspects that we require in order to make a decision. The understanding heart is very important because that brings empathy to us, to understand the situation well, to understand who the person we are talking about. That empathetic reflection of exactly what is the situation about would give us an edge into knowing who we are and what we are doing in terms of addressing issues in front of the people. So thank you, Bhai Arvind, for your brief introduction regarding to this matter. Okay. Now, Sister Rupa, Ben, you have said about discerning power. Obviously, this is much in line with what is the talk about, creating that level of discernment. the level of enlightenment, to understand not ourselves, but others as well, to bring a purposeful mission in our life and to bring that meaningful relationship in terms of our decision making. So, first of all, that discernment is required to make the right decision, and that decision will be conducive to good environment, conducive living, and bring happiness in the lives of people. So these are the two very important words that both of you have already given us as a starting point to discuss about spiritual intelligence and the way decision making, especially in terms of the law, how we can make in order to make that decision a rightful decision, a decision that is good, the decision that brings satisfaction to everyone. It brings a lot of harmony in the way of living, which obviously our society is fraught with lot of anomalous situation, which you both have depicted. You say that we are not living in a world where we can very safely say we are secured. We cannot say that. And both in terms of our physical environment and obviously in ourself internally, we are a very disturbed person. So how to bring that cohesion together in order to make our life more meaningful so that there is more social cohesion where people live in harmony and people would understand what it means to live in a civilized society. That's what you're both of you, this is what you have said, and I'm very thankful to you before I start my presentation. I wish to thank all the attendees, especially my good students who are in the presence tonight. And on my request, you're all here because you're all would be one day professionals, you'll be legal practitioners, and one day you will have to make decisions. And we can't say that, I don't want to say that you are not making decisions. You are, my good students, you are making decisions, but this talk has been very much, I invited you to join in because it will give a new competence, a new edge into your discernment, your way of thinking, your way of doing things. So I thank you very much for responding to my kind invitation, and that's why I love my students very much. Let's talk with sayings of two important persons. I've noted there is Mark Twain, a very prolific writer, a person with great philosophy. What he said, each man for himself alone decide what is right and what is wrong. So a decision of what is right and what is wrong, what Mark Twain is saying, is subjective to us, is personal to us. When it is subjective to us, it's personal to us, it means therefore that we have to make rightful decision. It's on us. Responsibility lies on us. It's not that the influence comes from outside. And how to build that inner consciousness in us in order to be able to be the person reliable on oneself to make a decision what is right and what is wrong. That is great saying of Mark Twain. Then there is another philosopher who is called Dietrich Bonhoeffer. What did he say? He said, it is characteristic excellence of a strong man that can bring momentous issues to the fore and make decisions about them. An analysis of what statement he has made, Bonhoeffer, he said, it is characteristic of excellence if we need to achieve excellence, a superior decision power, a competence that is unmatchable, unrivaled, excellence. How do we do that? He said it should be a strong man. He doesn't mean a strong man in terms of physical. Obviously, he means a man of strong innate values inside him that we call spiritual. That is the strong man. And that's what Bhai Arvind would always say, that you need to have that intuitive feeling. And that is the strength of character that determines the person's ability to make the bold decisions. It's only a strong man. It's not a powerful man we are talking about. There's a difference between a powerful man and a strong man. To make bold decisions, we don't need powerful man. We need a strong man. Leaders throughout the world have made strong decisions, bold decisions that have changed the lives of people. We've got many, if we have to name, right? Mahatma Gandhi is one of them. He has changed the lives of people. Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, all these people have been treading on earth, and they have made very bold decisions in their lives that have changed the current course of the living of our present society. So that's what Bonhoeffer is saying. He said that strong men that can bring momentous issues, great issues, momentous, that is very important, very significant in our lives. Those are the decisions that have been made that are significant in impacting in our daily lives. And then they bring it to the fore, in the forefront. It's not at the background. They come in the forefront so that it makes decision about them. It's only these issues, when we have strongly debated, argued, and canvassed, then we are able to come with the right decisions. These two philosophers have actually encapsulated everything that we have to say tonight. Briefly, I would say that this is the way we should interpret the title, the topic that is in front of us. So what we say, the two things that both Sister Rupa and Bhai Arvind have said, is about legality in decision making, but provided it's reasonable and fair. So what is fair may not be legal. What is legal may not be fair. But how to bring that balance between fair decision that is legal as well and reasonable as well. This is what is the most important to a way of leading a conducive, healthy, and harmonious life. Next is about, obviously, the cultivation, the inculcation of those nurturing those discernment values, discernment abilities, the discernment capabilities to be able to see oneself mentally, spiritually, and intellectually very strong, so that to make the rightful decision. So at this time, every day we make decisions from the choice of options and alternatives. You got many choices, many alternatives. Decision, if it is straightforward, then we don't have any issue. Then we don't have any problem. But because we got a lot of choices, lot of alternatives in our daily lives, then it makes the reasoning a bit confused, blurred, and complex. And this is where we have to find a moment of finding the right way to make the right decision. Shakespeare has said, to be or not to be, that is the question. It's always a moment of choice, to be or not to be. When we have to do this way, we think always, what about the other way? Are the options and alternatives available? Are they correct? Therefore, these decisions, some are made consciously and some are made unconsciously. This is where Bhai Arvind said intuitively, right? Through intuition or by boldness the mind has got, then we take. Some are consciously, we do it. Some we do it through intuitive means, right? The basic question is, on what basis do we make these decisions? That's the basic question. Tonight's topic is about the usefulness of spiritual intelligence as a tool to make a rightful legal decision. I have to thank Bhai Arvind for bringing a very important and dynamic topic that has a contextual relevance to our personal and professional lives. I've noted down a few points, please allow me, right? The concern that has been raised is focused mainly on the notion that decision is not all about knowing the law. That's what Bhai Arvind said. It's not about logic and intellect. We do also need our intuition, gut feeling, and a spiritual insight to make a legal decision. That has been actually the framework, the structure, the way this topic has been structured is based only on these few very important words, important statements that Bhai Arvind has made. That correct, Bhai Arvind?
Yes, indeed, that's correct.
Yes, yeah, right. The topic tonight have two important issues to deal with. Number one, legal decision making, and second one is spiritual intelligence. Let us firstly examine legal decision making. While making a decision, any decision for that matter, we are faced with two ethical crossroads. One is an ethical problem, and the second one is an ethical dilemma. Looks to be the same, but the shade has got many shades of differences. When we are in front of an ethical problem, there is no right and wrong decision because both have valid points. For instance, defending a criminal or dealing with a case of euthanasia. In both these instances, the decision to provide legal assistance will be treated as a fair decision. That's about legal problem. Ethical problem. It's a straightforward thing because the option that you have to provide assistance or not to a criminal or to a case of euthanasia, both would be right. It won't be wrong because the substance itself, are dictated by situation, by circumstances that gives the right to a person to decide in the fair manner. Whereas the next point that we need to consider before making a legal decision is whether the issues at hand, do they involve an ethical dilemma? First of all, we talk about ethical problem. Now, this is about ethical dilemma, which is where the problem lies. In this particular instance, decision is particularly difficult as the situation has no clear-cut and universally acceptable answer whether the decision is right or wrong. In ethical dilemma, this is where the problem is. We have many options, many alternatives, but we don't have a universally correct answer. For example, thus in the case of an ethical dilemma, such as do we prosecute or not? Do we advise for further action? Do we advise our client to plead guilty? Or do we advise our client to lodge a case? In my opinion, there simply may not be a very definitive right answer to many of these ethical dilemmas, right? So we are making a clear category of ethical problem and an ethical dilemma. However, primarily, professional ethics, as provided in the Code of Ethics for barristers, sets some norms and rules governing the conduct of legal practitioners. The code provides some answers as to why certain decisions could be evaluated as ethical or unethical, right or wrong, moral or immoral. If we go strictly by the rules contained in the Code of Practice, for instance, Article 3.1, it requires a legal practitioner to exercise absolute independence, free from other influences arising from personal interest or external pressure to make a decision. Thus, applying strict rules to an ethical problem or an ethical dilemma does not entirely put the concern of Bhai Arvind's question to rest. He has said decision is not all about knowing the law, logic, and intellect. His basic question is, how can we go about increasing our spiritual intelligence and better our intuition and gut feeling, assisting us in legal decision making? This is where the crux of the matter lies. At this juncture, I wish to address the concerns of Bhai Arvind by a little recapitulation. Legal decision making needs a diagnostic approach to understand whether it is a legal ethical problem or it is an ethical dilemma. Approaches to both are different. An ethical problem will not necessitate a legal practitioner to make choices or find alternatives. For instance, as stated earlier, defending a criminal or defending a doctor in the case of euthanasia. Since any decision that is made will be to a great extent satisfy the criteria of fairness and universal values of justice. This is about legal problem. It doesn't question anything. It's straightforward, right? But when we come to ethical dilemma, this has no clear-cut or universally acceptable answer about a right or a wrong decision, since this specific type of situation produces a complex boundary issue, especially when the client's values conflict with the practitioner's values. For example, giving an advice to a female client who has lodged a divorce case. Such a decision on the part of the practitioner requires a fair balance between his professional and personal ethics. This is a true dilemma since it raises the question of which set of ethical values are more fundamentally important. Is it his personal or professional? So therefore, he has to make a decision. Therefore, before giving any advice to the client, it needs a special mental conditioning. This is where spiritual intelligence comes in. The first step is to understand the internal dynamics of a person. Spiritual intelligence side by side with ethical theories that assist us in arriving at an understanding of the nature of human values, of how we ought to live, and what constitutes a right conduct. Spiritual intelligence provides us with an essential tool to take both preventive and corrective measures in everyday situation when we have to make the right decision. When advising our clients, spiritual intelligence lends us the necessary tool to keep a moral balance when we are in a need to make ethical choices for a satisfactory outcome that is beneficial to a civilized society. Spiritual intelligence, finally, is a proper formulation of emotional intelligence, social intelligence, and cultural intelligence that provides every practitioner the ability to make an informed and reasoned decision. Spiritual intelligence is one of the most superior and powerful tools that makes us have a profound understanding of the nature and dynamics of ethical problems and ethical dilemma in making legal decisions. I wish to end on a note of caution and a reflection. There is no definitive right answer to many of the ethical problems and ethical dilemmas. We don't have that. Making bold decisions by rationalizing issues or by intuitive means is not about deciding what is right and what is wrong. It is about acquiring the right level of discernment and enlightenment by understanding and applying the different theoretical framework as complementary resources of or conceptual tools that are practical, structured, and that made a systematic assessment of the ethical values which will ultimately determine what is a right or a wrong decision for a practitioner. So in summary, what we have looked at, the way we got to approach two important things is that if it is a legal problem, we don't have an issue of lot of thinking, reflection about application is quite straightforward. But when you come to ethical dilemma, where we have got many choices and alternatives, and we don't have the right answer, because no answer is the right answer. And by taking bold decisions on rationalizing our mental ability to bring a balance between what we call legality and fairness, reasoning and rationality, and we have got what is called, that we need to put our mind into that level of intelligence, of intellect, that will bring, most important thing is that we resolve issues, but we bring back relationship as well. These are the two very fair complementary components in any decision that we make. The decision has to be fair, valid, and reasonable. Ultimately, what we need is an understanding heart, and an equal vision, and a balanced mind. This is the way spirituality could be interpreted. We cannot make a decision without emotive feelings, empathetic discernment. We cannot. But we have got our understanding heart and equal vision. Our vision has to be very well balanced. When we are doing certain things, it should be well balanced. See to it, make research, do our review very well, and find out, go deeper into the details, look at every client's needs, their interest. Does his interest match with the norms of the society, right? And then we make that decision. And finally, we need to have a balanced mind. That balanced mind is the spiritual intelligence part, which we need to apply in order to make that decision fair, legal, and reasonable. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor. It has been a very enlightening talk. In fact, today's topic is a very complex one, but you managed to explain it in such simple terms. It has been so clear. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Bhai Arvind. Yeah.
And I'm sure
any questions?
Now, yes, let's hear from our attendees. I'm sure there will be lots of questions.
Any of my students, please. I would love to have any one of you.
Yes.
Yes.
Hello,
Whom do we have there?
Hello,
Yes.
Professor Tobal.
Yes.
In
Yes.
It is
Yes, go on.
Tabrez Anas.
Tabrez, yes, Tabrez. Good evening.
Good evening to you and to all who are attending this session. Indeed, it was very enlightening.
Excuse me, you can put on your camera. That would be more interesting. We can see you.
In fact, we have a problem with the camera.
Okay.
It's on the
No,
mobile.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Doesn't matter, Tabrez? No. Yeah.
It's been very enlightening to have this talk, and we really appreciate your point of view with the balanced mind, equal vision, and understanding heart. And this gives a formula to have a fair decision-making process.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tabrez. Thank you. I like it very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tabrez.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure there will be more attendees who would wish to intervene, to ask questions, to share.
Dikesh, it's nice to see you. Dikesh, do you have anything to say?
Thank you, sir. It was actually very, very enriching. I am not very acquainted to this topic, but your explanation has been very clear. I always thought it was something complicated, but the way you described it, the examples you gave, it was really, really simple for us students to understand, and I wish to thank you for that. I don't have any particular question, but yeah.
Yeah, good. Good, Dikesh. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. So I'm sure now for all of us who have been following this session, our decision-making process now would be much more effective. And we thank Professor Torol again for his very enlightening talk.
May I ask one question to Professor, please?
Yes, Ben. Yes, Ben. Yeah.
I'd like to elaborate a little bit about this equal vision.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. A very good question. Right. Ben, there are three very important, skill that we need to develop in the right decision making. Is first of all, any client that will come or anyone. Let's not talk about only client. Let's open it to any situation, whether it is at home, at work, or in outside, wherever in society, whichever forum you are in. Whenever we are confronted with a conflictual situation, let's put it more conflictual, is that whenever a client comes to you or whoever comes to you with a complaint or a grievance or a conflict, then we need to know ourselves first, and to know ourselves, those three important, what you call values or virtues or skills, whichever may you call it, comes prominently in front. One is understanding heart. We need to understand the person who is in front of us, who the person is. We need to have that empathetic listening. We listen with a reflection, and we also have empathetic reflection. Two things are very important at the same time. Listening with an idea of reflection. We don't listen only to answer. We listen in order to understand. When we understand it, we are ready with our understanding heart. Mostly, all our reaction starts with the heart. Our emotions is initiated at the heart level. Whatever we see, our emotions are already controlled by our heart. So it's the emotion part that comes in the forefront all of a sudden. So we need to have that understanding heart first of all. We cannot take our client for granted without understanding the emotive feelings of that client. Whichever it is, if a client has come in front of us, it's because the person is aggrieved, he's stressed, he is in a fearful state, he's not in a right balanced mind, he is not. So we got through our understanding heart, make him feel comfortable, and open up. Many times there have been, plaintiffs or whatever have appeared before me, and we have got two sides, the plaintiff and the defendant. Both have got different values, and we got to have to understand the values of which, the interest of which would prevail. Because when we talk about truth, which I have said all the time, it has got elusive shades of truth. There are many sides of truth, which we need to, first of all, find the correct means by understanding our heart first. So the skill that we need to develop is an understanding heart. Then comes the equal vision. In order to balance that emotion that we have, we cannot allow an overwhelming emotion to dictate terms to us. We cannot. The heart has to be controlled at a certain point in time. We cannot. For example, I gave a case of a divorce. When the case of divorce comes, how do we feel? The lady is crying. Your client is a lady who has come to lodge a complaint or to lodge a case of divorce. Now, how do we feel? She's crying. Where do we stop? Our personal belief as well as the client's interest. We need to have a balance of that. That's what we call a balance. We need to have a what we call an understanding, equal vision. Let's have an equal vision of understanding where the matter stands. So our legal knowledge, our intelligence, our mental growth, our emotional skill or development, all these come into play immediately when you have to have an equal vision. We always say we need to have a mind of, there must be consistency, a uniformity. There should not be an imbalance of the mind, of a vision. Otherwise, it will be prejudicial, it will be biased. We cannot afford to be biased, prejudiced, or we cannot show any favor or interest into a case. It is every client is a detached, level of relationship. We need to maintain that professionalism. So this is about what we call equal vision. Then we come a balanced mind. So these three are very important, what we call theories or management stuff of actually looking at case and then to make the decision. Once we have a full control of these three elements, understanding heart, right? We've got equal vision and a balanced mind. This is the right formula for what we call spiritual direction in order to make the right decisions. Okay, Behan?
Thank you very much. So it brings me to understand that before dealing with the case of the person in front of you, first you have to address the inner case of balance your mind and your own controlling emotions and calibrating your own vision. So every case out there is first my case in here.
Sorry?
Every case out there is
Yeah.
first of all the inner case that I have to address of balancing my myself ready to address the case. So there are two cases. One is what is happening in my inner world, in my inner self, and the client or the person. But before being able to address in a fair manner the client or the case out there, I'll have to address the dilemma inside myself first.
Yes, true. Thank you very much, Behan. At least we got a good student, a non-law student joining the law profession.
You're training me to be a lawyer.
It's never too late. And my good students will be one day. I want them to be good lawyers.
In fact, we are all lawyers because we have to deal with so many cases in our life.
Right. Ben, on this point, I just want to add a final point. A final point I want to add is that correctly, as you said, we are all lawyers, and I will also add up to say we are all spiritual beings. We are all. not by definition, but by action. By action, we are all spiritual, because all of you, my good students, as well as Arvind and you, Ben, you are all spiritual beings, simply because see the cohesion, see the understanding, see the friendship, see the love that we are sharing. And this is definitely the very foundation of spiritual intelligence. So we are all spiritual, not by definition, but by action. Thank you.
Please unmute yourself by Arvind.
Thank you very much again. So now we're going to move on, and we will have a meditation session by Sister Rita.
Thank you, Brother Arvind. Before we meditate together, maybe there'll be many among you who will be meditating for the first time. A little bit about meditation. Meditation is learning how to manage my inner world. Like Professor has just been sharing on the importance of having a balanced mind, which is inside, having an equal vision, which is inside. And the third aspect is about
understanding out.
And it's still within me. So meditation or spirituality is all about what I am inside and how I'm managing my inner capacities, my inner skills, my inner potentials. And that's why we need to understand whatever profession we belong to. If, for example, I'm a teacher, I first have to be a spiritual teacher to be able to profess with my students. If I am a lawyer, I have to first be a spiritual lawyer before being able to, to do what I have to do in terms of my duty or profession, make it happen in a fair and just manner. So whatever, even if I'm a housewife, I have to be a spiritual housewife first to be able to, fulfill my duty as a housewife in the right way. And it's only then that we'll feel contentment, satisfaction, feeling being useful and being there to support and uplift ourselves. I would like to share something that I've been reading these recent, I won't say days, but a few months back. I've been studying one of the greatest scripture, I can say universal scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Where there was a warrior considered to be the top warrior, but who was in dilemma to fight or not to fight, named as Arjuna. And he had to, surrender his dilemma to God himself, where God guided him and removed that dilemma by, explaining what happens what happens within us and how we can clarify those confusions and remove the dilemmas to be able to perform our duty. And in that scripture, the inner self or the spirit inside is being explained, is always in three states. So either our spirituality or the spirit inside, the one I am inside, is in a state of goodness or in a mode of goodness. And sometimes the I inside, the me inside, is in a state of passion, guided by desires and, desires and material gain and self-interest. Then that is termed of the spirit being in a state of passion. And then sometimes the spirit inside is in the lowest state of ignorance, where we are guided by our own foolishness, ignorance, our own weaknesses and devilish traits. We all have good and bad traits within us. And so the best decision is taken when I'm able to uplift my spirit, my inner self, including my heart, my mind, my vision, my understanding, to the level of goodness. And that happens when we, we uplift ourselves. We don't remain just at the logic level, as you say, Professor, and Brother Arvin also was telling before. We don't just stay at the reasoning level. We don't just stay at the emotional level, but we raise our awareness to that spiritual level of, goodness, where we're thinking of, what is the best that I can contribute, and what is the best that I can give to the person in front of me, to make the person be at his best. Alors, où je peux être le meilleur de moi-même, je peux donner le meilleur de moi-même et aider la personne qui est en face de moi d'être le meilleur ou de donner le meilleur, ce qu'il a en lui. And that is what they describe as the state of goodness. But that requires a lot of work on ourselves, because most of the time we are in the middle, we are in the middle. Sometimes we do get lost in the lower state. And this is where we commit mistake, and we don't, analyze things enough, and that brings a lot of regret and can bring a lot of loss to our client or the people we are having conflict of dealing with when we are in that state of ignorance, guided by, the devil in us, or le méchant en moi. And then when we raise, our awareness to a little higher, there also it might be dangerous if we just stay in that mode of passion where we're guided by selfish motives, or we get, emporté by our own emotions. We become too emotionally involved, and we can't control there. But the best state is in the state of goodness, where I'm totally detached from my own personal emotions. I'm aware but detached. I don't allow that to influence me. I'm detached from the emotion of the person. Yes, I want to go beyond the problem of the person. I want to see the person in that state where he or she is out of that, problem. So it's a state of detachment which we practice in meditation. And that requires just knowing the skill, learning the skill of how do I calm down my mind and take control over my emotions and turn any negative emotion into positive emotion, and then be detached to what is happening at the physical level, at the logical level, and go a step further than logic, which we call insight or intuition, which both of you have mentioned in your deliberation. But that requires learning to detach our mind, not getting too much involved, but knowing when to be involved and yet when to be detached, where nothing of the physical, and not only not even my own personal, is influencing, but I allow goodness to influence. I allow the universe to influence this situation and invite the best to happen. This is where we're connected with the intuition, with insight. And it happens with regular practice of meditation, which is what we call mental detachment. We are going to practice it for 2 minutes. Even those who have never done meditation, I'll be guiding you, and you'll find it how it's easy to reach that stage of detachment and be connected with intuition, allowing intuition to work. So I request you all just to, wherever you are, just sit relaxed. A relaxed posture would be your back is straight, your neck, your head is straight, a straight line, and both your feet are well grounded on the floor. And just take a few long and deep breaths, because that helps us to relax the body and the mind, and to find mind-body balance. So a few deep, long breathing. Je vais partager l'écran avec vous. Okay. Yeah. You can see on your screen, I'm sure, a sparkle of light. Light represents hope, it represents life, it represents the spirit we are inside. It represents the light of truth, the light of fairness, the light of love. It can represent different things to different person. So let us just place our eyes on that sparkle of light and start bringing in our awareness in our mind that at the physical level, I'm a body sitting on a chair, but at the spiritual level, we are all spirits, we are all beings, we are all souls, sparkles of light or life. There's a light within us, from where all our thoughts, emotions, and decisions take place. It's the I inside that thinks. It's the I inside that analyzes things. It's the I inside that discerns. It's the I inside that needs courage to take a bold decision. It's not the eyes, the mouth that speak, the eyes that sees, the ears that hears, or the hands that words that take decisions. It's the I inside, the life inside, the force inside. So let me tune in with that part of myself that has the important task of thinking, discerning, and deciding. Like a pond, when the water is clean, I can see clearly what is there inside, what is the best inside. I can make the difference when the pond and the water is clean and clear. I can discern between pebbles and pearls beneath the water. It becomes clear. In the same way, when my inner self, my mind is clean, clear, then discernment becomes easy about what is right and what is wrong. And decision-making becomes very easy and fruity. What I need to do first step is make my mind clean, clear. That happens when I remove all negative thinking and negative emotions, negative feelings away from my mind, out of my mind. That can happen when I get detached, when I practice detachment. Practicing detachment is about saying no. So whenever I have any negative thought, feeling, emotion, influencing me, disturbing my mind, it's like disturbing the water of the pond. I say no to it. It means I'm detached from its influence. When I say no, I stop it. I stop that thought. I stop those emotions. I stop those feelings when I say no. So for a minute, let me put a full stop to the several thoughts, feelings, emotions that has engaged my mind throughout the whole day. I want a moment of calm, where my discernment works and my decisions are fair. So I close my eyes for a moment and try to reach my inner self, the one who I am inside, who thinks, who discriminates between right and wrong, who feels, have emotions, who reasons, and who decides. I become aware of my inner being, my inner self, my soul, my spirit, and visualize it as a sparkle of light, as the source of life that is present inside the physical body. I now consciously start calming down my mind. The mind calms down when I feed it or give it positive spiritual thoughts. So let us all create in our mind a beautiful spiritual thought and say to ourselves in our heart, I am a peaceful being. I am a peaceful being. I am a peaceful being. I say to myself, I visualize it, I'm a peaceful being, a being of peace. I feel it. I am a being of peace. And slowly I become it. I am a peaceful being. I feel peace inside. I am a light of peace, radiating peace. I feel calm inside. My mind is calm. My heart is full of goodness and love. And my being is in harmony. Deep inside, I'm a being of peace. I have a calm mind and a loving heart. I'm connected to my true self, completely detached from what is happening at the physical or external part of my life. Nothing out there have an influence on me. I'm detached, I'm peace, I'm calm, I'm strong. I now take a long breath to complete my meditation and then bring my awareness from inside back to my external self, my external life, and my external reality. But keeping the truth of peace that is there in me all the time. Alors, nous sommes arrivés à la fin de notre session pour ce soir. Je remercie tous les participants, surtout les élèves du professeur Toral qui a bienveillamment accepté l'invitation et nous a rejoints. J'espère que ça vous a aidé et ça va vous aider à grandir spirituellement, également professionnellement dans votre vie. et que si vous êtes intéressé encore plus à découvrir la spiritualité et développer votre intelligence spirituelle, vous pouvez toujours prendre contact avec les centres Brahma Kumaris. On est présent dans presque tous les coins de l'île à travers le centre de méditation. No need to be a meditator, but you can learn it as a practice whenever you need to clarify your mind and be able to, develop the capacity of taking good decision, fair decision, where you're happy and everybody's happy about the decision taken. Thank you, Brother Arvind, for being the host today. Mille merci, Professor Dorol, for your very valuable input, and it was so clear. I'm sure even those who are not in the legal field have been able to understand what is this capacity of decision making all about, and what does it involve? What does it involve? And merci à tous ceux qui nous ont suivis sur YouTube. Je vous donne rendez-vous jeudi prochain pour un autre Night Sky event. Et jeudi prochain, ce sera consacré to yoga, because we're all celebrating International Day of Yoga. It was on the 21st of June, but we're still celebrating it. So we'll be celebrating together the International Day of Yoga and the usefulness of yoga in keeping our health, because we know how difficult it is to keep ourselves healthy and keep the family healthy. Health is a big issue today. And so it will be about health next Thursday. And we will be talking about mental health, mental wellness. We'll have a psychologist, psychiatrist, and yoga coach to help us learn about how we can keep ourselves mentally well, mentally healthy, because everything starts with the mind. Donc, je vous invite déjà jeudi prochain, mais ce ne sera pas à 7 heures, ce sera à 8 heures, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And we'll have people from USA and India, and also people from Mauritius as guest speakers to share with you how we can give the best to our mind to keep it healthy. So thank you, all of you, and thank you all those who are watching on YouTube. Thank you to the Zoomers. We end our program here, wishing you a very pleasant night and all the best in your life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Behan, right, to my good students as well, and to Bhai Arvind. Thank you so much. It has been a very fruitful, enriching evening. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.